Let's do this. Ever since the Hazbin season 2 finale, I've been just seeing all of these memes of Huskerdust fans just crashing out, and believe me, I get it. I really do. But I am here today to hopefully provide to you some comfort. I am here today to assure you that despite the heart-wrenching ending of the season, and despite the fact that they are not together yet, that this was still a successful season for them, nonetheless. Not only that, I am here to make the argument that it's actually good that they're not together yet. I feel like this video might give off a similar vibe to my Wolfstar video or my Finpo video that I did a few years ago. It's not too often that I do a whole video just delving into one exclusive ship, but I feel as though they deserve it after this season. So I'm not going to do a really long intro. You don't want that. Like my video analyzing the whole season that I uploaded a few weeks ago, I'm just going to do this episode by episode because I am an organized person and I want to organize all of these scrambled thoughts in my head, at least in some way, shape, or form. We are going to start out with the 1-second clip from the teaser. This was the clip of Angel leaping over to the train tracks to save Husk. And I love how everybody just collectively lost their minds all those months ago. Let me tell you, they know what they're doing over there. They know damn well that they can release a trailer, show a less than a second clip like that, and have everybody in a chokehold, making fan art, writing fan fiction, coming up with a plethora of fan theories. They did the same thing with Blitz and Stolas in the Hell of a Boss Season 2B trailer. You know that clip of Blitz wielding his sword and protecting Stolas? Same thing. Iconic. New Pentious. I'd say the first real Huskerdust moment of this season is when Angel is sitting on the bar and is celebrity endorsing the hotel, and then he runs his finger up his leg and Husks follows it with his eyes, which is the second most exciting instance of Husk checking Angel out this season. When Angel said, "He's little," and then picks up Fat Nuggets, it was so cute. I love Fat Nuggets, you love Fat Nuggets, everybody loves Fat Nuggets, of course. When Husk tells Angel to get your pig off my bar, his eyes dilate. This is one of many examples from the first and second season in which his eyes do this when he looks at Angel. When Angel says that he's looking forward to the therapy session because he's getting into talking about feelings and junk, I cannot be the only one that was like, Regardless, that is such a sweet moment, and despite the hypnosis, he really has come a very long way. A detail that I found quite cute is that Angel spends basically this whole episode sitting on the bar, and Husk doesn't say a word. He will let Angel sit on the bar all day long, behind closed doors. This one has a lot. I would say that this is the first episode, Masquerade included, that shows how protective Husk is of Angel, and he only gets more and more so as the episode goes on. The scene where Angel, Husk, and Cherry are at the bar talking about Sir Pentious getting redeemed, their dialogue is straight up flirting.
Or maybe Angel on a good day.
Oh, them s***ing words, kitty.
Choke.
I'd love to.
I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. You will miss this if you blink. But after what I believe is the first commercial, when Angel, Husk, and Vaggie are walking into the lobby of the hotel, they are grinning at each other as they are walking into that room. This scene goes on to force Angel to do his speed run to redemption in front of the V's. Really bad idea, by the way, but it does have some very cute moments. The first is the obvious, is that Husk called Angel legs canonically for the first time, which was fantastic, sublime, never before, never been done.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before.
Husk is so supportive of Angel and all of his endeavors. It is so sweet when he opens his wings in front of him and gets in Vox's face and says, if there's anybody that can make it up there, he will. It's a testament to how highly he's come to think of Angel. Finally, when he said, worst case, you're still down here with me, I mean, we must have all noticed that he didn't say us, he said me. And once again, I think that this is a testament to how close the two have gotten since the beginning of the series. Husk has become a safe place for Angel, and what's more, he clearly knows that. Moving on, Husk is such a mood when he is tied to those train tracks. This is obviously the scene from the teaser, as anybody who had seen the teaser could immediately tell. I cannot be the only one who initially felt a wave of disappointment upon that because I thought that it would be staged. The scenario itself was set up. However, the rescue itself was not staged. Angel really did save Husk, and then Vaggie saved both of them. And this is unrelated, but can we just appreciate how many times Vaggie really came through in the clutch this season. She's so lovely. Okay, I don't know how many other people made this connection, but when Charlie runs up to Angel and she tells him that the brakes are cut and Angel immediately yells, "Husk!" That immediately took me back to the X's and O's episode of Hell of a Boss, when Blitz tells Millie the truth about why they're there and that Moxie is being forced to marry Chaz. And then Millie immediately yells, "Moxie!" and then runs in to save him. That parallel, I think, is quite interesting because while I don't know if it was intentional, it might have been, because Husk and Moxie are also both wearing dresses in those respective scenes. Okay, we need to talk a little bit about their subsequent argument. Once again, this shows how protective Husk is of Angel. You don't need me to tell you that he would not have gotten that upset if he didn't care that much for him. And on the flip side, Angel wouldn't have gotten so defensive if he didn't care that much for Husk. He was ready to get hit by a train. The "if you ever do that again, I'll spank you" line. There are a couple things that I found interesting here. The first is that Husk was clearly trying to lighten the mood. He doesn't like the fact that he and Angel are upset at each other or yelling at each other, and he's trying to make light of the situation a little bit by making a little joke. What I find even more interesting is that Angel doesn't take the bait. Husk hands that quip to him on a silver platter, and Angel does not play into it like he normally would and like he did earlier in the episode.
Choke.
I'd love to.
This, I think, really goes to show how scared and sincere he was in that moment. Finally, I must mention the fact that Angel called Husk Whiskers again, which, despite them literally having an argument, is just such an affectionate nickname. Furthermore, the nickname has clearly grown on Husk as well, as we all remember from the first episode.
Call me Whiskers again and I'll jam that bottle down your throat.
And that's not even the only time this season when Angel calls him that either, but we'll get to that later. It's a deal. They have a grand total of maybe 20 seconds of content in this entire episode, but they really make the most of it. The blobfish scene. The way Angel leans his head over the bar is so endearing. His little smile is so endearing. I like to call this scene Angel's authentic flirting, or maybe even his Anthony flirting. And this is because in season 1, whenever he would flirt with Husk, it was disingenuous, it was largely his persona. But this scene is completely different. It's very soft, it's very sincere, and it's very, very cute. And it's obvious how much he genuinely loves being around Husk and how comfortable he is around him. Also, Husk's reaction to this is very on brand too. His "why are you like this" is so well delivered. And then when he says, "Look, Angel, and then when Nifty runs up and carries him off, I admittedly got a little bit ahead of myself the first time I watched that. I was like, wait, what was he gonna say? But then upon further reflection, I believe he would have apologized for their fight in the previous episode. Nevertheless, this is very, very sweet, and I believe that it shows Husk's growth as a character. Before he was forced to work at the hotel, whether he was an overlord or an ex-overlord, I can't imagine that he was the type of person who apologized for a lot of things. Silenced. They had no scenes together in this episode, but Angel did talk briefly about Husk's growing role in the hotel as a therapist. I don't have a lot to say about it other than the fact that they've clearly talked about it or maybe even laughed about it together. Scream rain! I feel that most people experience this, but I feel like we collectively felt after this episode that something had changed between the two of them. Like, something in their dynamic had effectively shifted, and you could feel it. It's safe to say that all of these scenes live rent-free in my head, and there is so much to say about all of them. When Husk quits the hotel and leaves and says that there's no reason for him to stay, and then Cherry says, "What about Angel?" And this brings me to, Cherry has to know, at least a little bit, right? As Angel's best friend, as his ride or die, she knows him so well, she has to at least have an inkling about his feelings for Husk. Right? But yes, I'm very, very happy that she said that. There are two details that I want to talk about with respect to the love in a bottle sequence. First, the slot machine spelling out "loser baby" was a very nice touch. And then second, the lyric, I'm leaving behind all of the cares that I've been overthinking. When he jumps on the little slot machines and they turn into Charlie, Alistair, Angel. To me, Charlie kind of represents the entire hotel, as that is now where he lives and works, and has recently found out that the hotel works. As the person who owns his soul, Alistair has been a constant in Husk's life or afterlife for a while now, and it goes without saying that he would overthink that situation a lot. His regrets about it, what he could have done differently, etc. And then there's Angel. I don't know exactly what he's been overthinking about Angel up until this point, but I have some ideas. Most likely, he's thinking how he doesn't want to hold Angel back. Like I've said, Angel has come a long way. He is well on the path to redemption, and Husk is certainly aware of this. And on the flip side, we see in this episode and in this sequence how Husk views himself. He does not think he is worthy of being redeemed. He doesn't even think he's worthy of being saved from being hit by a train. If I were to guess how Husk has been overthinking about Angel thus far, I would venture to say that he's likely feeling torn between his desire to see Angel succeed and his guilt for feeling like he's holding him back. And likely it's crossed his mind that if Angel ever does make it to heaven, will he ever see him again? Okay, obviously the next Huskerdust moment, actually several Huskerdust moments in this episode, is losing streak. Woo! When Angel turns around, we get a spit take, a blush, and the highest that I personally have ever heard Keith David's register go. Some important notes here. Husk does not take his eyes off of him this entire performance. If he has not fallen head over heels for Angel by this point, he has now. I know that it's not official or anything, but we can all agree that this was the moment that he realized, right? Like, this was definitely it. Especially considering that when the rabbit, voiced by Zach Hadel, is like rambling off to the side, it cuts to a close-up of Husk just looking absolutely mesmerized. On Angel's end, he is absolutely, without the shadow of a doubt, singing this song directly to Husk. I saw a comment on a video of Losing Streak a few weeks ago that said something like, Angel really saw Husk in the audience and said, all right, I gotta lock in. And honestly, yeah. He maintains eye contact with Husk for the better part of the song. And when he's not looking at him, he's pushing away the other guests. Moreover, if you listen to the lyrics of the song, this is clearly Angel's loser baby number to Husk, and Sam even confirmed this. And this is further solidified during their conversation afterwards, which we'll get to in a second. Another amazing detail that I can't personally take credit for, I saw it on this comment on Instagram, was the poker chip that Angel holds up to his lips had a yellow heart on it, which is the same design as on Husk's paws. Okay, before I get to their conversation at the bar, I feel like I need to talk about the fact that Angel even works at an establishment that, for all intents and purposes, used to be Husk's. I say for all intents and purposes in this video because I don't believe that this has been canonically confirmed, at least not yet. Greetings, Editing Lucy here. So this actually now has been canonically confirmed as of Tuesday, December 9th through this video, so hooray! But I feel like anybody who watched this episode, it wasn't too great of a leap to infer that this casino belonged to Husk when he was an overlord. There are already a lot of videos on the internet breaking that down more, so I won't do the same here, but how did Angel end up getting employed here? This kind of raises a lot of questions. I mean, Angel is clearly happy doing this job, but how did he seek it out or apply for it to begin with? I mean, did he know? He had to be able to tell that this is an establishment that Husk used to own, or at least be very much involved with, considering that his wings are literally on the stage. So did he purposely or even strategically get employed here in the hopes that Husk would come in one night, or even just to feel closer to Husk or find out more about him? I do not know. But it certainly raises a lot of inquiries in my mind. Okay, this conversation at the bar really sent me floating up on a cloud of pure and utter bliss. Like I've said, I really could feel that something had changed between them. Angel's "Hey loser" was so soft and affectionate, and the irony of that is so beautiful and so on brand for them. The fact that they call each other losers, but it's become such a term of endearment, it's like their own language. The "I didn't know you performed here" line, I once again kind of wish that Husk had pushed a little further there. Like, why here? I just really want to know. When Husk tells Angel he's quit the hotel, Angel's reaction is everything. He becomes so sad and nervous, and now that he presumably has real feelings for Husk, I really think that he's felt for a while that he can't do anything about it. Because of his initial harassment of Husk back in season 1, I truly feel that Angel is too scared to tell Husk how he feels now. He feels that he can't make the first move because his masked, disingenuous flirting in those first episodes and Husk's blatant discomfort with it have essentially tainted that opportunity for him. They also talk about their argument a little bit more. Husk apologizes, which again I think really showcases his growth. Angel says that he's accepted that redemption's not for people like him, while there is a literal visual of wings right behind him, I might add, which we know from behind closed doors that Husk disagrees with. And I also love how nervous that Angel gets when he asks if Husk is still mad that he saved his life. And this is the moment when it's Angel's turn to loser baby Husk. When Husk says that he's not worth saving because he's just a sad drunk at a bar, and Angel says,
And I'm just a sex worker in a dress whose lunch was 3 cigarettes.
That's the exact same point that Husk made in Loser Baby, except obviously in reverse. And then they clink glasses, and we all remember what happens next. Hey, Husk. His eyes are up here. And then Angel walks off to his doom, unfortunately, after that. But before he does, he really takes the leap and says, "See you at the hotel tonight, Whiskers." Which again, super endearing nickname, to which Husk says,
No, you won't.
Yeah, I will.
Husk blushing at the end of that was incredible, and as much as someone might try to tell you otherwise, it was not just because of his intoxication. What I love so much about that is that it wasn't just a fleeting moment either, like a quick eye dilate or a quick flush or a quick skip of the beat of the heart. No, like, his face was red for, it had to be like at least 3 or 4 seconds. And not to discount any of those quick moments either, like they sometimes do with Blitz. I mean, Blitz's reaction to Stolas's human disguise still lives rent-free in my head. Like, no disrespect to it at all. The last 2 things about this scene are obviously 2 of the best details, and they are the instrumental of Loser Baby playing in the background and the fact that Husk does not finish his drink. He's found love that's not from a bottle. I'm going to spare you from the scene following this, but I wanted to talk briefly about when Angel initially arrives at the motel in the cab. When he's asking Valentino about how he wants that one line delivered, he seems very upbeat, like weirdly upbeat. I honestly think he's still riding on the high of seeing Husk, getting to perform for and talk to Husk, and he's probably looking forward to seeing him later. And finally, let's talk about Husk when he arrives back at the hotel. He's clearly sobered up a great deal by this point, and he's still blushing when he walks in the door, so do with that what you will. Husk walks into the hotel looking for Angel, and I'm not 100% sure of what he thought he was going to say, but was he really about to confess his feelings right then and there? Because, wow. When Angel is not there, he proceeds to ask Cherry where he is, and Cherry doesn't know either. And then, after that, we have that iconic,
Something ain't right.
let me tell you, as soon as I saw that, I knew we were gonna get a rescue scene of Husk, Cherry, and Angel, and I was pretty sure, and I was so beyond there for it. What I love so much about that, though, is that They never thought for a second that Angel snubbed or ditched them. They knew that something was wrong, and it is such a testament to how well they know and trust Angel. Weapon of mass distraction. There are 2 moments this episode that are very much of note, and I feel like you probably know what they are. When Angel showed up on their television, I cannot tell you how my heart dropped into my stomach, and I'm sure a lot of other people can relate. But when he made his testimony on the hotel and everyone is just watching hopelessly in the lobby and Husk says,
Angel?
keeping in mind that this is presumably the morning after their time in the casino, he never came home last night and now he's with the V's and saying this. I'd say that I can't imagine how worried he must feel, but to be honest, I can. I have a great imagination, and I can tell you it's pretty heartbreaking. And then there's the scene where Baxter is welding the door shut. Husk and Cherry tell him to stop because
Angel's still out there.
We need to go get him. He's right in the middle of what's coming.
this was definitely the moment that I knew that they were going to try to rescue him next episode, which again, if you watched my video on the whole season, you'd know filled me with great anticipation and dread. He sounds so worried. And once again, I must mention that he and Cherry never feel any betrayal or resentment towards Angel, only concern and only care. Curtain call. I'll try not to stumble through this one too much. Angel unconsciously lying on the couch was obviously not the easiest thing in the world to see, but I have to say that the silhouettes of Husk and Cherry in the doorway was kind of everything. I would say that that's arguably, as a visual, more powerful than actually seeing their facial expressions as they walk through the door. As they approach him and see his broken, fragile state, Husk's hand turns into a fist, as if he is ready to throw hands, fight anyone who has hurt Angel. Luckily, he gets to in a few minutes here. The next time it cuts to this scene, Husk and Cherry are still trying to get Angel to come to. When they realize that they need to leave, they pick him up and Husk calls Angel legs again, which is superb. Angel is not receptive to this as he tries to back away, saying, "Don't touch me." And Husk, being the gentleman that he is, doesn't touch him. He just tries to reassure him. "It's okay, you know me." And through Angel's POV shot when he says this, you can see his eyes dilate again. And then Cherry puts him in the sack and Husk asks, "Why would you do that?" After she explains it, it makes sense, but I think that Husk just really wants to be good to Angel. And then they get caught by Valentino. He sets off his knockoff Robo-Fizzy on them, and the fight ensues. The moment that Husk and Val clash is so powerful, I wasn't even ready for it. I hope that we get another moment like that in season 3, just because of how utterly unready I was for it in season 2. Husk pulls out quite a bit of the stops for this fight. The rings, the cards, the dice. When Husk tells Cherry that he remembers Angel telling him that Val's eyes are shit, which was a reference to the Addict video, I just think it's sweet how he remembers that, because that was technically the day that they became friends, as it was right after Loser Baby. It goes without saying that night means a lot to both of them. Okay, when Angel grabs Cherry's wrist and starts choking her, Husk is clearly quite helpless, and he says the most wholesome thing that he's probably ever said and probably ever will say.
Angel, stop! We're your friends!
And then afterwards realizes that he has to save Cherry. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see his expression after he hits Angel, but I'm not going to dwell on it because he didn't have a choice. Cherry could have died. The last thing I want to say about the fight is definitely my favorite moment from the fight, which was when Valentino gets back up, says, "Say goodbye, gato. Goodbye." What?
Oh.
It was a thing of beauty. The next moment is a very small one, but it's very tender and very sweet. It's when Angel puts his hand on Husk's shoulder during Hear My Hope. Once again, Angel has really come to rely on Husk's support, and this moment is a literal instance of that, as Husk is literally supporting him. A moment that's really come to break my heart is the one right after Hear My Hope, when everybody is being reunited with their loved ones and Angel and Husk are kind of standing off to the side. And Husk looks so pleased, and Angel looks at him and then kind of looks away and looks so defeated because he knows now what he feels he has to do. I saw this post not long after seeing the finale, and it's so sad. Okay. Let's actually break down the moment when all of our hearts collectively shattered. Like I've said in my previous video, Angel making this decision is really a testament to how considerably he puts others before himself and how much he actually deserves redemption. More than that, it shows how much he truly loves all of them. I found Husk's "We saved you so you can come home" line quite significant, considering that Angel has spent all of 1 year at the hotel and decades before that living with Valentino. This illustrates how the concept of home is largely defined by the people who surround us, not necessarily a house or a building. You don't need me to tell you that the people at the hotel are the ones who really care about him. When Angel talks about how they've had him ratting on the hotel for he doesn't even know how long, my heart definitely cracked when he hugs himself with his lower set of arms. His "you're not safe around me" line once again solidifies how much he loves them, as he is now actively sacrificing his safety and well-being and going back to his abuser for their sake. When Husk says that they could help him and Angel yells back, "No, you can't," I can see it from both sides. Husk knows Angel as someone who is capable of making his own decisions and can think for himself. However, Angel is right in the fact that they can't help him out of his current situation. The fact of the matter is, he's not free and he hasn't had a choice. Also, I have to mention that Angel really went from telling Husk, "I don't need you to help me," to "you can't help me." The last choice I ever got to make was when I signed my soul away and Husk takes his hand. It is so tender and genuine, and it clearly got to Angel as much as it got to all of us. Because when he turns around and is sobbing and says, "I'm sorry," he's clearly sorry for leaving Husk and Cherry at that moment, but of course he's also apologizing for the things that have happened that he wasn't even aware of. Okay, we are really getting into the nitty-gritty, but that is one of the things that I love about animation, is that you can do that. But when he says, "Just do me a favor," and you look at his face, his eyes squeeze shut, you can tell how difficult it is for him to pull away from Husk and to say the next line. And then Husk's "please, come back," is what collectively sent us all over the edge, I feel like. Oh, Keith David, the man you are. I have a few things to say about this. I've seen quite a few people say that they believe Husk was going to tell Angel how he felt here. Personally, I don't know if this is true, but let's say for argument's sake that it is. If it is, it's probably good that Husk didn't say anything. It was not the moment. Husk, I wouldn't say, is the most emotionally intelligent individual. Like, he's not known for that, obviously, but I would say that he is emotionally intelligent enough to know that Angel was not in a place right then and there to hear that. Therefore, he thinks better of it and manages a soft comeback. The aftermath of this was truly tragical as well, but also quite sweet. Husk is now taking care of Fat Nuggets, but you can tell how crestfallen he is. He walks about the hotel with his ears and wings drooping down. I don't know what will come of him in the time between seasons, but I am absolutely terrified that he will relapse and go on a drinking and gambling spree. And obviously, I'm also terrified for Angel on his end. So what does all of this mean? What does all of this mean, and why was this season still so successful for Huskerdust? Well, here's your answer. Before this season, I wouldn't say that Husk knew about his feelings for Angel yet. Therefore, this season was not about them getting together as far as their development. As far as that is concerned, this season was about Husk's realization of love, and that is exactly what happened. That being said, this was still a successful season for them. This is a slow burn, and with this show being confirmed for 4 or 5 seasons, we don't want them getting together too fast. If something actually did happen between them in season 2, I believe that the writers would have jumped the gun. Both plot and character-wise, they weren't ready. That's why I'm actually glad that there has been no physical or verbal declaration of love yet. But they are on their way. In an interview with Collider Ladies Night, Vivian, the show's creator, had this to say.
Season 3 is a lot about Angel and about his situation, and also about Husk and the fact that Husk, is a character that's really grown to care about Angel. And that's a really hard position because we already know through Loser Baby that they have a lot of connection with each other, and they're both in a situation that's very similar. But unlike Angel, like Husk at least has someone who, again, it's hard to compare abusers in this show, but at least Alistair has his own agenda, and Husk is just there to help him achieve it here and there. But with Valentino, it's like Angel is like this thing that he wants to lord over, and he wants control over, and he wants to control and use and hurt. And that's like the difference. And I think there's an element that I'm excited for people to see us explore of like Husk being in this position where he's just realizing how much more different Angel's situation is from him. And I think that's also really, again, my personal favorite season is 3, so I really like it. But I think, it's probably the heaviest, most like emotionally driven season.
And in an interview with Polygon.com, she also said this.
I'm excited for people to see a season that is really emotional. It's in a lot of ways, it's the most like romantic season. As a romance writer, I just love the dramatic, the angst.
So it's safe to say that season 3 is really going to be the season of love, not just for Huskerdust, but probably for Lucillith, Cherry Snake, Carmilla, and Zestiel, who knows who else. In addition, Blake Roman, the actor who voices Angel, said something that I thought was very interesting at the Hazbin Season 2 premiere. I will play that right now.
And so we're starting to see the cracks kind of fester in his and Valentino's relationship. Where that will end up, who knows? But he's starting to realize that he has more options than he might think. He's not as trapped as he might think he is.
Now, he could have very easily been talking about the place that Angel is in at the beginning of Season 2. As we know, he was doing really well, he was happy, he was improving. However, if you think about how much Blake knows as well as all the other actors in comparison to everybody else, they are well into Season 4 at this point. So saying things like, Angel's not as trapped as he might think, and he has other options, considering how Season 2 ends for him, which is essentially the exact opposite of that, it has me thinking that things are looking up. Things are looking up. That's a good way to end this video, I think. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope that you had fun watching this. I certainly had fun talking about it. So if you like this video, please do not forget to like it and subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, feel free to comment down below your thoughts. If there's anything you want to see in Season 3, what your favorite Huskerdust moment was in Season 2, what your favorite Huskerdust moment is overall. Anything you want, just talk to me about Huskerdust and talk to me about Hazbin Hotel. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope that you have an absolutely heavenly day.